Hello YouTube and welcome back to lesson 2 of your guitar lessons. In this particular lesson, before I teach any songs, I actually have to teach you a little bit about tabs and how to read music. This is not going to be an entire music theory video. Rather, I'd like to show you something about tempo or time sequences or rhythm, some people call it. How to read it in the tabs and how to read tab essentially, and I can show you how to read tab in not too many words actually. We'll save music reading for a future visit. You can actually get through your entire guitar career without actually reading a bit of music. What you're looking at in front of you, I should say, a bit of traditional reading music. Fortunately for you, they have this thing called tab, T-A-B, and it's spelled right here, tab. What you're looking at is sheet music, and it's for Beethoven's Ode de Joy, which is going to be the first song that we're going to play in the next video. I'll run through it for you. So it's not a bad idea and I'm going to figure out how to get this file uploaded so you can have the sheet music ahead of you, in front of you, so you can look at it, to figure out how to display it. But one thing to notice here is right above we've got a bunch of notes, and this is for illustrative purposes, and underneath it there's some tabs. You're not going to normally see the notes. Actually you might, because the notes are important to look at, although you don't have to read this stuff. You don't have to know anything about this. For your guitar career, what you're going to do, you can get through the entire time just reading what's down here called a tab. It's in tabulature notation. And there's 6, you might notice there's 6 lines. And they correspond to the strings on the guitar, just the way that I have explained in the last video. This first line is the first small E, or the smallest, the thinnest string on the guitar, the one towards the bottom. And you count upwards. So this is string number 1, string number 2, string number 3, 4, 5, and this is the big E up here, string number 6. And the numbers that are on the string are basically for this particular, and this is a measure, by the way. So these are measures, and this is all works for traditional music reading as well. Here we have 1 measure, 2 measure, 3 measure, 4 measures. And in our 4 measures, we're using a beat called a 4/4, a 4 over 4, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. But within the measure here, the first 4 is saying that we have 4 beats per measure. And the second 4 is actually telling us which note gets the beat. Which note is the 4th note, or the 1st note, or which note is going to get the beat in the measure. So in order to keep rhythm, in the old days, people had metronomes, they had counters. I've got one and I'm going to show you and demonstrate. You can hear it, hopefully, in a few minutes. But I sort of want to get through the tab lesson first. So we have 4 beats in this measure, which is the 4th, and the 4th beat here. The 4th beat is going to get which note which is going to get the beat is the 4th beat, which is going to be the 4th note in the measure. Sometimes you'll see, for guitar music, you'll see 4 over 4, or you'll see 3 over 4. 3/4 is very common. It means that there's going to be 3 beats per measure, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, instead of 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4. The bottom 4 is going to stress which one of those 4 is going to get it. You know, it's usually 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'll show you. I have a metronome I'm going to turn on for you. Turn it up real loud so you can hear it, which kind of demonstrates the concept. The numbers, and this is the interesting thing, the numbers on the strings, so these are strings starting with 1 on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the smallest string on the guitar, is the 1 string on the bottom of the guitar. The 0 means it's open. It means you're not pressing on any spot on the fretboard. There's nothing. It's just a regular old open string. The 1 means you're pressing on the 1st fret. So it's the 1st fret. The 3 is the 3rd fret. So if I were to play this string, and hold on, let me grab my guitar real quick. Alright, now I have my guitar. Can't see me in this video, but you can hear me hopefully. If I were to play this, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. And hopefully, if I had good rhythm, I'd be consistent with 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could play it faster. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4 if I wanted to, or I could play it slower and go 1, 2, 3, 4. And the speed in which you're playing it is referred to as the tempo. And so in order to understand tempo, you have to sort of understand beats per minute. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, or we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the tempo. So that's going to give us our beats per minute, or the speed. Most guitar music, it's about 120, 130 is a pretty fast tempo. Sometimes they'll tell you at the top of the music. This one doesn't say anything, but sometimes they'll tell you up here, usually right around here, they'll tell you how many beats per minute. Or sometimes it'll say tempo equals 120, tempo equals 130, or something right up here, which is telling you how fast you're supposed to play it. I actually don't really like fast tempo songs. I play mostly the slower ones. I like my tempo. I'm good around 90 to 120, actually is good for me. So let's actually kind of see, and this is the part where I say it's going to be kind of experimental, but I think this is going to work. I'm going to play a metronome in the background so you can see and hear what tempo I'm referring to. And the first tempo you're going to hear is going to be a 90. So this is going to be a 90 tempo. And let's see if it plays. Here we go. You can hear that one strong beat. So if you listen to this, hopefully you can hear it. Let's see. You hear there's one strong one, which is the first one, or the fourth beat, I should say, in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So if I were to play this, I would play each one of these notes here, and I'm just looking at the first measure for right now. I would play each one of these notes on a beat. So I would go, and then I would repeat. So that's why people get metronomes. And a metronome is nothing more than a device like what you're hearing right now, which is a metronome. It's a small little device. You can pick one up for, I don't know, 10 or 15 bucks. What it does is it makes noise like this. You can also get one that's built into an amplifier, and in the amp, in the background, it'll make noise like this to kind of keep you on track. It just gives you the beats so that you can keep pace, or sometimes they call it rhythm. Keep rhythm with the notes. So you get the idea. I'll just do it one more time. I'm going to play this first measure right here. Actually, I'll play. I don't know, I can play both measures, but just so that you know, you can kind of feel for how this works. You're going, 2 opens. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I didn't start on that. Let me start at the beginning on one of those big ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is irritating me, so I'm gonna. Well, actually, here, let me show you how what would sound like if I increased it. I can increase the tempo, and if I increase the tempo, I could be looking at something. For example, let me move up to 120. Let's see. That's 120, which is moderate for a regular play. You'll find the averages between 120 and 130. Let me show you what 130 would look like. Let's just make it a little bit faster. That's making it slower. Hold on. There you go. Your average song is about right here. It's about 130. And don't let that intimidate you. It's not that big of a deal. Because once you start playing, you'll once you get past learning where the notes are and things, you'll get past speed issues, and things of that nature. But that's about your average tempo for most of your songs. And again, the tempo is missing from this particular slide, but it would be normally up here, or sometimes it's over here, but it depends. So let me explain the tabs to you a little bit more. As I mentioned before, this is the first string, and the first string, this 0 is just open. So you would hit the open string, and you'd hit it twice, because we're looking at the 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're corresponding. So you don't need to look at this at all. What you're looking at are these here. This is the 0 open string. This is the first string, first fret. This is the first string, 3rd fret. So it's kind of like our 1, 2, 3 song, or 1, 2, 3, 4 song. We're playing the first string open, so we're hitting it twice. And then we're depressing on the 1st fret, and then we're going to the 3rd fret. And then in our second measure, we're going from 3rd back to 1 to 0, and then we're moving to the 2nd string, 3rd fret. So this would be the 2nd string. But in this particular song, we don't get past the 2nd string, because in the third measure, we're going back to 1 on the 2nd string, to 3, and then to 0. So I'm going to play this with you in the next lecture. This will be the first song that we're going to learn. And it kind of seems a little bit basic, but what I'm trying to do is teach you the fundamentals. One of the fundamentals actually kind of experienced here in this particular song is, what do you do if you don't have 4? So on the 4/4 pattern that we've looked at so far in terms of the time signature, hold on, let me put my guitar back down. We've got kind of a simple little indication here. We can kind of tell that this is 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat to equal 4, but how do we know that when we're looking at the music? And what does this thing mean when it's open? And what does this dot mean? Well, I put together a little cheat sheet for you so you can kind of see the 4 different types of notes. So we have 4 different types of notes that we're going to see in here. We got this one here that's a whole note. So the whole note doesn't have one of these tailing pieces on it. It's just looks like a 0. That has 4 beats to it. Then we have what's called a half note, and we have 2 variations of the half note. We have a half note, and then we have a dotted half note. So if you think of a whole as 4 beats, a half would be 2, right? 2 halves equal a whole. So that's where we get the half note from, and this would be 2 beats. So 2 halves would equal a whole. And then we have this weird one with a dot next to it. That just adds 1. It means it's not in a half increment. It's just like it's half a note and a half. I mean, it's just one added to it, which is what that dot is actually. So it gives it 3 beats instead of 2 beats. And then we have the quarter note. The quarter note is a half of a half, and that's 1 beat. So if we say that the whole thing is 4, and we break it out into quarters, what do we've got here? We've got some quarter notes. So in our Ode to Joy, Beethoven song, that's a quarter note, a quarter note, a quarter note, a quarter note, 4 quarter notes in this measure equal. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have the same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have one more note. 3, 4. But this here is taking up more time. So we go back to our cheat sheet, and you might just want to maybe just print. Here, I'll make this full screen, or maybe just make note. We have a half note that's 2. So we've got a 2 going on in here. And so we know that there's going to be a 1 beat kind of pause. So we can kind of figure out where the pause is supposed to be. And the pause is going to be right after here. So we have 1, we wait one more beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we have a 1 with a little break. And it's actually kind of written for you to kind of cheat sheet here. So you can go 1, 2, oh, 2's missing, but just leave it alone. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And because it's at the end of the measure, we're just going to pause a little bit before we start the next one. So when we're playing, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So we have a 1, little break, 2, 3, little break after the third. So we have 1, 2, 3, a little pause instead of having and so this is the hardest part to figure out, and it's something that nobody actually studies the music for. We just kind of we learn the song with how the song is supposed to sound. But if you have never heard the song before, it's going to be hard to tell what it sounds like. And if that's the case, then you have to go back and you have to consider, well, it's a 4/4, okay, and where's the pause supposed to be? And put the pause in. And nobody gets it perfect because, I mean, unless you're playing classical music, you're not going to have to worry about anyone catching you on a pause that you didn't take or something of that nature. It's not really going to affect you strongly in the beginning if you don't actually put the pause. It might make the song sound a little weird, but it's not going to affect you. So, and here we can tell from the song, and if you've heard Ode to Joy before, you know there's da, and then there's a break, da da. You know there's a little bit of a break here, so we can go, and the music is actually put in here, so you can go 1, skip 1, 2, 1, 2 is missing, 3, 4. We know where to pause in this particular case. And you'll notice throughout most songs it's kind of consistent. In this particular case, all these are quarter notes all the way up. And the different types, these are different types of notes. I'm not going to give you music theory, it would bore you to death, but you can kind of tell it's sort of a simple song. It only uses 2 strings, and it uses this is what's considered tab notation. So I've got another song that can show you. That is going to be another song we're going to look at. I believe I've got "Love Me Tender" in here as well. It's not quite very clear. I'll have a better version of this for when I present it to you officially. But you can see that the tab notation. I'll make it a little smaller so you can actually see. It's a little fuzzy. You can kind of sort of see the tab notation here is the same. So once you learn how to, you just know that this is the fret number. This is a 0 is always open. A 1 is the first fret. 2 is the second fret. So you can see now, second fret here. This is the second fret of the third string. So you can go 1, 2, 3. And it just, once you get a feel for the string numbers and for the fret numbers, then you line it up, and this is only talking about what your left hand is doing, what's being depressed on the fretboard. That's what this is referring to. So for the first lesson in music reading, that's pretty much all you need to know. What I'm going to do in the next lesson is run through this song with you, so you can pick up your guitar and play with it. I need to figure out how to get this on YouTube, however, so you have this music in front of you, because you're going to need to read the music to follow along with it. But maybe I can get this up with this video posting, so that'll be an experiment for me. So anyway, that concludes your introduction to music reading. If this were 3, we know it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. And we know that these are what's called tabs, and we know that this is called the signature. We can have different signatures. It doesn't have to be the same signature throughout the entire song. We can also have different tuning. We have what's called drop D tuning, where the sixth string is lowered to a D instead of an E. It's dropped by 1. Gives you a slightly different thing. And most of that information is up here. I'll try and bring in another sheet of music that's got more information on it. But this is enough to get you started with tabs, and this is a preview of what we're going to cover in the next lesson. We're going to do Ode to Joy. You're going to play it on your guitar. Okay, that is all for this lesson. Thanks.